students. Today we are going to learn about the biology chapter 1, nutrition in plants, class 7. Nutrients. What are nutrients? Nutrients are the components which help the body to grow and repair damaged cells. They help the body to grow and also repair damaged parts or cells of the body. These components of food are known as nutrients. Now, some of the nutrients, some nutrients like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, as shown here, and as shown here, and as shown here. So these are known as these are some of the nutrients. Children, see this chart. Here also there are nutrients which are written here. Carbohydrates, proteins, fats, minerals, vitamins, and water. Water is not a nutrient, children, but it helps in the digestion of the body. But it helps in digestion of food. Like example, it's like roughage. Roughage also helps in digestion of the body and excretion of food. In the same way, water is not a nutrient, but helps in the digestion. Now, what are the uses of these nutrients? Some of the uses of these nutrients are: they repair damaged cells of the body. As said here, they repair the damaged cells of the body. They give us energy to work. We need energy to work. We will learn this in physics, that if you only have energy, then you can work. So these nutrients provide energy to work. So they also give energy for us to work. They help in the growth of our body. They help in our growth. Like if you are this long, and it helps in growth, you can become tall, or your immunity power can become strong. It helps in your growth. Let's move to the next slide. Photosynthesis. Now, what is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is the process of making food by plants. I'll explain how in the afterwards. Now, first let's see what parts are required to do photosynthesis. Leaves have tiny pores on them called stomata. Leaves have tiny pores on them called stomata. These stomata help in exchange of gases. The stomata helps in the exchange of gases. You should remember this, children. Now, and leaves have a green pigment called chlorophyll. All of you know that chlorophyll is very essential for photosynthesis, as it converts the sunlight's energy into chemical energy. So chlorophyll and stomata both are very important. Stomata helps in exchange of gases. After photosynthesis, oxygen is produced, oxygen is released, and carbon dioxide is inhaled. So the exchange of gases is done by photosynthesis in leaves. Okay, let's move on. What is photosynthesis? The process of making food by plants and in presence of sunlight, carbon dioxide or CO2, and H2O or water with the help of chlorophyll is called photosynthesis. How will chlorophyll help? Chlorophyll helps by converting the sunlight's energy into chemical energy, which gives energy to activate photosynthesis, to do the process of photosynthesis. Now, what does photosynthesis mean? Photo means light. Synthesis means to combine. Photo means light and synthesis means to combine. Light combines carbon dioxide and water to do photosynthesis. Here you can see the reaction. When photosynthesis occurs, carbon dioxide and water in presence of chlorophyll and sunlight produce C6H12O6. This is the glucose formula, children. It is the formula of glucose. Produces glucose and oxygen. During this process, oxygen is released and starch is obtained, and it is stored in the leaves. Starch obtained is stored in the leaves. Do you know why they obtain starch? They obtain starch because even they need energy. So when they prepare food, even they need some use of it. Even they need energy. So starch is produced. So starch is also stored in leaves for them to consume. Now you can see here. You can see here photosynthesis. Light, like here the green pigment chlorophyll converts light energy into chemical energy. Then carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, it inhales carbon dioxide and exhales oxygen, and carbohydrates is present and stored in leaves. And here water is also used in this process, water and other minerals. You should know, children, sun is the ultimate source of energy for all living organisms on earth. Do you know why? If there is no light, plants cannot do photosynthesis. So if plants can't do photosynthesis, then no animals can live. No animals can live, as no humans can live without oxygen. If humans can't live without oxygen, even plants cannot live without carbon dioxide. So animals are the organisms which produce carbon dioxide for plants, and even plants can't live if sun is not there, as they cannot even do photosynthesis without light and carbon dioxide. That is why we say that sun is the ultimate source of energy for all living organisms on earth. Note this point, children. This is a very important point. Sun is the ultimate source of energy on for all living organisms on earth. So let's move on to the next slide. Modes of nutrition. Do you know what is nutrition? First, the mode of taking food by an organism and its utilization in the body is called nutrition. This means that taking in food by an organism and using it to get energy, repair damaged cells of the body is known as nutrition. Nutrients, the process of consuming nutrients and using them by the body is also known as nutrition. So the mode of taking food by organisms and its utilization and using it in the body is nutrition. Now, do you know all now autotrophic nutrient, and there are many modes of nutrition: autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition, saprotrophic nutrition, insectivorous nutrition, parasitism, and symbiosis. Now let's learn what are these modes of nutrition and how plants or animals consume it, and how many and which plants or animals consume it, use it. Autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition is the mode of nutrition in which organisms can prepare their own food through photosynthesis. Autotrophic nutrition means they make their food on their own. They don't need the help of other organisms. So only plants are the ones who have, only plants and trees are the ones who use autotrophic mode of nutrition, as they are the only ones who have chlorophyll. So you should have chlorophyll to perform photosynthesis and make food on their own. The organisms which use this mode of nutrition are known as autotrophs. As I said, in these organisms, chlorophyll is present. The organisms which use this mode of nutrition are autotrophs. You should remember even this, children. This is also very important. Plants are also known as producers. Plants are also known as producers because they produce food. By photosynthesis. If plants are not there, then plant-eating animals don't get food. If there are no plant-eating animals, if there are no herbivores, then carnivores don't get food. Carnivores can hunt carnivores, but carnivores never eat other carnivores. Even remember this, children. So carnivores don't get food. If carnivores also don't have food, omnivores are like us and other animals also don't get food, and life is not possible on earth. Therefore, plants are the ultimate source of food. If the plants are not there, then animals cannot survive. Obviously, if animals are not there, even plants cannot survive. But if plants are not there, no one can survive. So even please remember this, children. Now let's move on to the next mode of nutrition. Sorry, 1 minute. I forgot to tell you a point. Plants are called producers. I said this. I'm sorry for the disturbance. Heterotrophic nutrition. In this mode of nutrition, animals eat plants which are eaten by animals. You can't understand this so easily. In this mode of nutrition, animals eat plants, herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, all of them use this mode of nutrition as they cannot prepare their own food. In this mode of nutrition, animals eat plants which are eaten by animals. So in this mode of nutrition, this happens. I'm going to explain you how and why. But first, write down the definition of heterotrophic nutrition. It is the mode of nutrition in which plants are directly or indirectly dependent on plants. Yeah, do you know why? Plants are the ultimate source of food. So all animals are directly or indirectly dependent on plants because plants give food for herbivores as I said in the last slide. So heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In this mode of nutrition, all animals are dependent on plants. Now, what I have written here, I'll explain you why. Animals eat plants, which means that herbivores eat, which are eaten by carnivores or omnivores, which means that herbivores eat plants, which are eaten by carnivores. So herbivores eat plants, which are eaten by carnivores. They eat each other, like herbivores eating plants, carnivores eating herbivores, as I said you. The organisms which use this mode of nutrition are known as heterotrophs. They are known as heterotrophs. Remember even these children. And in these organisms, chlorophyll is absent. If chlorophyll is absent, they can prepare their own food. So it makes no sense for chlorophyll to be present. Now, saprotrophic nutrition. In this mode of nutrition, animals consume. In this mode of nutrition, organisms consume food from dead and decaying matter. They get food from dead and decaying organic matter. Remember this point, children. What is saprotrophic nutrition? It is the mode of nutrition in which organisms consume dead and decaying organic matter. They eat dead organisms. They grow on dead organisms. Like when our animal dies and when it is decomposing, then as I have shown here, these mushrooms are grown. These mushrooms are only grown where there is dead or decaying organic matter, which means that someone is dead. So how do they consume food? They convert the dead and decaying organic matter into juices and they consume it. They convert the dead and decaying matter below it and converts it into juices. They make it into juices and consume it. So like this the organisms which use saprotrophic nutrition survive, and the organisms which use this mode of nutrition are known as saprotrophs. Remember even these children, saprotrophs. As you know, in these organisms chlorophyll is absent. Yeah, it makes sense because if chlorophyll is absent, if chlorophyll is absent, they are dependent on dead and decaying organic matter. So they are also as I said, they are also dependent on plants because if plants don't provide food to those animals, and if they don't, and one day if they don't die, then even these organisms cannot survive. So chlorophyll is absent in them. Insectivorous nutrition. They have chlorophyll. These insectivore plants have chlorophyll, but cannot use it properly. Even if they have chlorophyll, but eat insects for nutrition. They eat insects. Do you know why? They grow in soil where, if you don't know answer, they grow in soil which is not rich in nutrients. Which is not rich in nutrients. So, for the purpose of consuming nitrogen and other things, for consuming nitrogen and fulfill their balance in diet and fulfill their diet, they even eat insects for nutrients, like for nitrogen. We can call these organisms partial heterotrophs. These organisms are known as partial heterotrophs because they eat insects for food. They even eat insects and also perform photosynthesis. In these plants, a flower, like example, let's take this pitcher plant. Its flower is its flower is modified into this pitcher for nutrition, which means that one part of them is modified to eat these insects. They, as I said you, they grow in places where there is very less nutrients in the soil. Please remember this, children. Now, parasitism nutrition. It is the mode of nutrition. It is the mode of nutrition in which an organism climbs on and parasites climb on other organisms and take ready-made food from it. They take ready-made food. They climb and wait there. When let's take example as this animal. When they perform photosynthesis and get food, they take that ready-made food. These parasites take that ready-made food from it and use it. And the plant on which it climbs on, any plant, it may be any tree like a banyan tree or a mango tree, any tree or plant on which this parasite climbs is called the host. Now, what is a parasite? Organisms which follow this mode of nutrition is called parasites. Even remember this, children. Let's take an example, Cascata. All of this is Cascata. Cascata, it is a yellow leafless plant. It's a yellow leafless plant. It doesn't have any leaves. It has only a stem which is used to climb on other organisms. It deprives valuable nutrients from the host. It takes the nutrients which is required for it to survive from the host plant. We are going to learn about parasitism in the higher classes. During this time we don't have parasitism, but still I wanted to just inform you that there is another mode of nutrition like parasitism mode of nutrition. Let's move on to the next slide. Symbiosis. Symbiosis, it is the relationship between two organisms. It is a relationship between two organisms. It is a relationship between organisms to live together and share shelter and nutrients. This relationship is known as symbiosis. Let's take example rhizobium and plants. Rhizobium provides nitrogen to plants and plants in return provide nutrients to rhizobium. Do you know what is rhizobium? Rhizobium is a bacteria. It is a bacteria which converts the atmospheric nitrogen into consumable form. We are going to learn about this in the next slides. I'm going to explain it to you afterwards. In these organisms, chlorophyll may be present because in the symbiosis is a relationship between two organisms. It may be rhizobium and plants. Plants have chlorophyll, which means that symbiosis may have chlorophyll. You can even take some other examples which do not have chlorophyll. So we can't say if all plants which have symbiosis relationship have chlorophyll or not. So it may be present. May means it can or cannot be present. I'm going to come back to this slide later. Let's move on to the next slide. Cells. What are cells? Everyone know living organisms are made of small tiny small particles known as cells. These cells make up a human being or any other organism. As shown here, this is the diagram of a cell. A cell also has many parts. Cells are enclosed by a thin outer boundary. It is a very thin boundary, as seen here. This small line, this thin boundary where I am highlighting is known as the cell membrane. It is the cell membrane. This part is known as the cell membrane, and they also have a spherical structure. It's a spherical structure present in them. It's a spherical structure. We can't say perfectly where, but it's a spherical structure present in them called nucleus. We are going to learn about these nucleus in the higher classes, and the nucleus is surrounded by a jelly-like structure called cytoplasm. See here, if this is the nucleus, then it is surrounded by a jelly-like substance. This jelly-like substance is a cytoplasm, and the thing inside it is the nucleus. So please remember this also, children. Let's move on. Other organisms with chlorophyll. This shows that plants which are green in color are not the only organisms which have chlorophyll. Algae and crotons. These crotons are organisms who have leaves whose leaves are not green or of any other color. Now, I think all of you know that chlorophyll is green in color, but here green color cannot be observed so easily. I'll explain it to you why. Now green patches in the algae. See here, this is an example of algae. These green patches is the algae. Algae are present in ponds and in water which is not running, a water which has stood still at the same place and does not move. It is not like river water or fountains or sorry, waterfalls. It moves. The water moves and falls on, but it is usually found in algae is usually formed in water which does not move. It stands still. It does not move. So algae are usually present in ponds. They also have chlorophyll and make their own food. Algae also have chlorophyll. Please remember this, children. Algae have chlorophyll, and plants which are not green in color have chlorophyll. But the other color, the other dark color, you can say this red or yellow. It masks the green color. Masks means it covers. It makes sure that we can't see that green color. Green color. So let's move on to the next slide. Processing food in plants. Sorry, carbohydrates have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. You can say this as I showed you a reaction during slide number 3, photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. CO2 plus H2O gives us C6H12O6 plus O2. In this C6H12O6, you should know that C means carbon, H means hydrogen, O means oxygen. So this indicates that carbohydrates have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So they use this to synthesize other components of food like proteins and fats. They use these carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen to synthesize other components like protein and fats. They use this to make protein and fats for the plants. Proteins are nitrogenous substances. What is nitrogenous substances? The substances which have a lot of amount of nitrogen are known as nitrogenous substances, like proteins. Nitrogen is present in abundance in the atmosphere, but it is not in that, but it is not consumable in that form, which means that we can't take it and use it directly. But even humans breathe in nitrogen. Humans also breathe in nitrogen, but it is exhaled by humans. When we breathe in air, we take carbon dioxide, oxygen, and even nitrogen, but it is exhaled. So we can't. So even humans, not only humans or plants, no organism can use nitrogen in its atmospheric plants. A bacteria present in the soil converts atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates and nitrates so that plants can consume it. A bacteria is present in the soil. It converts the nitrogen into nitrates and nitrates. Nitrates and nitrates is a form of nitrogen in which it is consumable to plants. So in this form, plants can consume it. This bacteria is the rhizobium. As I said in the slide of symbiosis, rhizobium and plants are symbiotic with each other. Rhizobium converts atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates and nitrates and puts it in the soil so that the plant can use it. And so the plants provide which comes from photosynthesis to this rhizobium. So we can say that plants and bacteria are symbiotic with each other. Let's move on to the last and final slide. How are nutrients replenished in the soil? So you all might have a doubt. How does even nutrients become empty in the soil? Yes, they become empty. See, we can say that this part of soil has this much nutrients. When we put a plant in there, that plant consumes that nutrients, consumes it to grow and survive. So in that way, the nutrients present in that soil is over. There are no more nutrients in it. So if there are no more nutrients in it, then plants cannot grow. So the soil should be fertile. So soil is enriched by nutrients by adding fertilizers and manure to it. So we add fertilizers and manure to it so that the nutrients present in it, the nutrients and minerals present in it are enriched. There will be more nutrients or minerals for the plants to survive. Children. If rhizobium, so So we should add fertilizers to make the soil fertile, to make the soil suitable for the plants to grow. You should also know what do fertilizers have. Fertilizers have magnesium, potassium, nitrogen, and etc. and many other elements or minerals. All of these are elements present in the periodic table, children. Magnesium, potassium, nitrogen. Understood. So we should add fertilizers and manure time to time to enrich the minerals in the soil so that plants can grow. Yeah. So we can say that if the soil is not fertile, then plants cannot grow properly. So we should regularly enrich the soil with the minerals. If rhizobium is present in the soil, then there will be no need. Then there will be less amount. Then there will be no need to add more nitrogenous fertilizers. But still, you should add fertilizers to make the soil to enrich the soil so that plants can grow easily. So the plants can nicely grow. So if the soil is not fertile, plants cannot grow. Remember the children. Now, as I said, let's return to symbiosis. Now see this picture clearly. Here in symbiosis, rhizobium. This bacteria is rhizobium. It provides nitrogen compounds to the plants and puts it in the soil and plants consume it, which means that it provides nitrogenous compounds to the plants. Atmospheric nitrogen into converts atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates and nitrites and provides it to plants. And when plants perform photosynthesis and prepare food, they provide that food to this rhizobium for it to survive. So this relationship is symbiosis, and I just came back to explain about this example. So this ends the meeting, children. Thank you. Thank you a lot. And before ending the meeting, I want to say you that please like, share, and subscribe these videos. Thank you for watching.